Order. Questions to the Prime Minister. Mohammed Sarwar.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in the House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join the Prime Minister in wishing Rangers well. I'm sure he's right that the whole House will support that. I wonder whether the member who was his colleague, the chairman of Celtic Football Club, will take the same view, but we will see. More importantly, the whole House will want to express our sympathy for the victims of the earthquake in Sichuan. Everyone will have seen the very swift response of the Chinese government, and it is in stark contrast to the reaction of the regime in Burma, where the neglect of the military junta is turning a natural disaster into a man-made catastrophe. I'm very grateful for the update the Prime Minister has given us, and he's rightly said that the Burmese government must let aid through. But can I push him a little bit more on, if that doesn't happen, is he prepared to take further steps, including raising the issue of the responsibility to protect at the UN and supporting international efforts to deliver aid directly?
I thank him for the support for the action that we've already taken. Of course, at the United Nations we will raise the issue of responsibility to protect, and of course we leave ourselves open to consider the issue of airdrops. I have to say to him, however, that everybody who is on the ground and every aid agency that is advising us says that the best way of getting aid quickly to the Burmese people is to continue the pressure on the Burmese government, which has yielded some results but not sufficient results in the last few days, to continue that pressure so that Asian countries are in a position to help us get the aid that is available to the people of Burma. I have to say to him that when we tried to get a meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss this, we have been blocked by other countries. That is why I have asked Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, that is why I've asked him to hold an emergency summit, such as Kofi Annan held when there was a tsunami previously in 2004. And I believe that there is progress on that emergency summit, and I hope that is the means by which additional pressure is brought to bear through Asia on the Burmese government. I don't rule out anything, and nobody should rule out anything, but let us be honest, all the aid agencies and others are telling us exactly the same thing. We must intensify the pressure to get more aid in through the government as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of course, on direct aid, of course the Prime Minister is right that the best step is to get the government to open up the country to allow the aid agencies in. But I do think it is worth setting a deadline by which we say, well, enough isn't through and more should be done. Yes, of course, the experts say that with direct aid, only a fifth of it will get through, but a fifth of something is better than 0% of nothing. On the issue of the responsibility to protect, could he clarify this for us? On this issue, the British ambassador to the UN said that the UN's responsibility to protect does not apply to natural disasters. Yesterday, the Foreign Secretary said it certainly could. Could you make absolutely clear that, in our view, the responsibility to protect should be extended to Burma and to Burmese people at this time?
There's two ways of proceeding: the responsibility to protect or the right to humanitarian intervention, which was invoked in 1999, and we leave all these options open. But I have to correct him. We must not fall for the impression that there is some easy answer in aid drops. I am prepared, like others, to consider aid drops. But I have here what has been said by Save the Children this morning. Right now, talk of aid drops is a distraction. Aid drops are an ineffective way of delivering aid. We must continue to push for access, and we are exploring other creative ways to get rid of the blockages, such as through boats. Now, what Oxfam have said also that it's a distraction, and the World Food Programme, which is coordinating aid in Rangoon, has said it would be counterproductive. And water supplies cannot be dropped from the air without putting at risk people in this country. Now, I say to him, I rule out nothing, but we must not give the public of Britain or other countries the impression that the best way is not the one that we're proposing, and that is to intensify pressure on the Burmese government and to make sure that aid gets to the people of Burma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, it was revealed that in private, the Housing Minister told the Cabinet that house prices would fall up to 10% this year, house building was stalling, and further falls are predicted. Yet in public, the same Minister said the housing market was strong. Does the Prime Minister agree that she wasn't being straight with people?
Speaker, it's because of the condition of the housing market that I will be announcing that I will be announcing new measures later on in this question time when I do my statement. And the reason is that the housing situation has deteriorated in the last few weeks, and why we are taking the measures we are doing are to protect first-time buyers and give them new opportunities, to take out stock that is not being bought so that housing associations and other authorities can buy it, and help people who are facing repossession. Now, I thought the opposition party would support that, but maybe they don't remember that 15 years ago they caused the biggest repossessions we've ever seen in our history.
Mr. Speaker, people want to hear about the future, and people want some answers. And people want some answers from the Prime Minister. Yesterday, we all paid £2.7 billion to keep the Prime Minister in his job. The least he can do is earn it by answering some questions. Doesn't he understand that he is never going to get out of the hole he's dug for himself unless he starts being straight with people? In all other walks of life, if someone said something like that, the boss would say they shouldn't have done, they got it wrong. So let me try another one. Did the timing of the tax announcement yesterday have anything to do with the by-election?
Mr. Speaker, as the Chancellor said yesterday, he had to bring forward his proposals if they were to go into the finance bill to be legislated now. Now, I thought the Conservative Party would welcome our announcement that 22 million people have benefited, but they have not even told us yet whether they support our plan. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason is this, that their tax priorities are further cuts in inheritance tax, stamp duty on shares, giving money to those people already rich. They have never at any time said that their priority is the low-paid and poorest members of our society. That is the Conservative Party that caused 15% interest rates, 3 million unemployed, and we will never forget the record repossessions that happened when he was advisor to the Chancellor.
So there we have it. The
Right honourable gentleman. Order.
The cancelled election had nothing to do with the polls, and the announcement yesterday had nothing to do with the by-election. Another day, another complete failure to be straight with people. Let's try another one. Last week, the Prime Minister claimed that Wendy Alexander wasn't calling for an early referendum on Scottish independence. Will he now admit that she was calling for an early referendum and that on this issue they simply don't agree? Can he take this one chance to be straight with people?
Mr. Speaker, I wrote to him last week immediately after question time to point out when he challenged me that there is no plan for a legislation for a referendum in Scotland. There is no plan at Westminster, otherwise we'd have heard it. And there is no plan to put legislation through the Scottish Parliament now or in the immediate future. Now, I thought the Conservative Party would want to join together with the Labour Party in supporting the Union. I thought they'd want to support the integrity of the United Kingdom against the nationalist parties. But all we have is petty point scoring when what we actually want is a defence of the Union. It's about time the leader of the Conservative Party did it.
The party that is putting the Union at risk is the Labour Party by playing games for an early referendum at a time when Wendy Alexander and the Prime Minister are the two most unpopular politicians on the planet. What could do more to put the Union at risk? Isn't a big part of the disastrous premiership his failure to be straight with people? He won't be straight about the election, he won't be straight about the European Treaty, he won't be straight about the 10p tax losers. And even the one thing people thought he'd care about, the Union, he won't be straight about that. Isn't that what we're seeing? A Prime Minister putting short-term decisions in front of the national interest.
It is the right honourable gentleman that is playing politics. He never told us whether he supported our tax package. He doesn't tell us now whether he's supporting us on the Union. It's about time instead of being the salesman, he started showing some substance about policy. We are the party. We are the party helping 22 million people. We are the party with record employment figures in this country. We are the party taking more people out of poverty. We are the party expanding the National Health Service. His policies would put all that at risk.